The first new endgame event is finally here. We have Umbral Monument, and in this video, I'll be bringing you through how you can easily play through this mode, earning some sweet rewards, including 1200 Oroberyls quickly. This video will focus on breaking down how the new mode works, what are the best teams and characters, and also some tips and tricks to avoid dying and defeat the stage easier. Use the timestamps for your convenience, and with that said, let's jump in. First of all, here are all the rewards you will obtain, including the things you will have to do to get them. There are 3 stages in this mode with 2 difficulties. Every single stage and difficulty provides the same very high value first time clear rewards. If you clear everything, you can gain 144,000 T credits, 18 gold character XP mats, 6 huge Mark of Perseverance, 48 Protohedron, and 30 weapon XP mats. Not only that, if you go to the event tab, you'll see a list of missions which will all be cleared automatically if you clear every stage and difficulty of Umbral Monument. From that, you can obtain a massive 1200 Oroberyls, 15 more gold XP mats, 30 more weapon XP mats, 90k T credits, 10 gold mat selection crate, and a couple more upgrade mats too. If you've been playing the game for a while, you know just how huge these rewards are. If anything, the T credits are very sweet to get considering how quickly you run out of them. This is why it is imperative for everyone to beat this and get all the sweet rewards. While very invested players will likely have minimal issues with this video will be made in hopes to help out anyone who are struggling, or just act as information for anyone that is wondering what teams are great for this mode. With that said, let's actually jump into the game mode and see what's up. For all these stages, you will be on a 10-minute timer. It is actually more than enough time, but the time you take to beat them doesn't actually matter that much. You just have to beat them and you'll be able to get every reward. You'll start with the easier first difficulty, and this is when all 3 stages only have small gimmicks. The first stage of this difficulty has waves of enemies followed by a boss. It has a mist that deals damage to all operators continuously, but in this stage, you are also provided with a small buff. If your control operator receives healing, the rest of your team will receive a portion of that healing too. This isn't too crazy, especially when you can just heal with your tactical and win eventually. The second stage have waves of enemies and no bosses, but also the enemies are all immobile. They cannot move. However, they instead are harder to interrupt and can continuously gain attack buff the longer they stay. By being harder to interrupt, that means you cannot stop them from attacking just by applying simple interrupt effects like lifting. But do know that they can still be gathered, especially with Gilberta's skill. The third stage's gimmick is that you will fight 2 elite enemies. First, only one of them will jump in and attack you, while the other shoots periodically from out of the map. Once you beat the first one though, the second one will jump in instead, and the other one will shoot from out the map. Once you beat both, they will then both jump in at half health. You'll have to defeat them both. Now that you know the stage's gimmicks, it's time to choose your team. For the normal difficulty, you'll really just need whichever your main team is, and you should be able to easily beat this at mid-game levels. I would say a safe standard to have is to have a full gold gear main DPS with decent skill upgrades at level 80, with the rest of your team at least level 60. That is a guarantee that you should be able to beat Umbral Monument with normal difficulty at that level of investment. There isn't really much tips for this one. You just have to level your characters and progress them. The only tip that I can think about that you may not have considered much at a mid-game level progression would be your tacticals. Make sure you have healing items there. It is actually much more important than you think. You should be able to craft them or even have a full production line for them if you progress your factory well. You can still challenge this with less investments, and I do encourage that, since you only gotta beat it one time and gain massive progression materials that will help you a lot considering the resource sink near endgame. So you have to get one team ready. You beat all 3 stages with the same team as long as your investments are solid enough. I'll still recommend a few teams that would definitely work out, which will be the obvious Levitating Heat team, any invested physical admin teams, and honestly any other types of teams like Yvonne or even Lashright can work easily in the normal difficulty, even Aviwena as well, as long as your investments are solid. If you can't beat this, chances are your levels, skill upgrades, or gear can be improved relative to your progression that you have not yet done, or maybe you've just not progressed enough. Continue on with the story and grow your factory in that case. Now that the normal difficulty is done, we move into the truly fun part, which is the hardest difficulty, the Agony mode. With the Agony mode, all 3 stages still have the same gimmicks, but its effects may have been increased or decreased, and on top of that, you actually can no longer use tacticals and any consumables. Now that is actually a big difference. You see, most of the time healing is something that isn't too important because you would always just have a tactical for it. The random bit of healing you get when you get hit and you get low is from your tacticals, and they are truly one of the reasons why you could tank hits without losing your mind too much in your daily exploration. So in Agony mode, you lose that ability, which means you either have to kill everyone before needing to heal, or you have to heal with something outside of your tacticals, which is your character's actual kit. We'll break down what teams and characters would be perfect for that a bit later. For now, let's understand more on the stages itself. In Agony mode, for the first stage, the mist deals more damage to everyone now. They've added harder enemies and your other teammates enemies receive less healing compared to normal difficulty. Stage 2 sees enemies gain attack much faster, and that's it. For stage 3, obviously all the bosses damage and levels are higher, but then there's one extra gimmick where during the last phase where you are supposed to fight both bosses together, they actually share the damage they take. This is actually not even a bad thing because you can just like damage one boss and you'll damage the other at the same time. Pretty handy. The levels and investments that you should have to have a solid chance at beating all stages are full gold gears on every character and as close to a max investment main DPS as you can. I personally have mine at level 90 with a max level weapon and at least max upgrades on relevant skills. I actually don't even have any artificing done, and of course I have no potential as well, just to get an idea of what the level investment you need to have to comfortably beat this. And yeah, that is exactly what you're looking at. You can most certainly still achieve this with less investment, less levels, but at least in my experience, even with my level 90 levitate, it's not that I won in a landslide, I still lost a couple times. Just to give you an idea that this mode is truly not that easy, that you can just jump in without thinking way too much. But if you're a skillful player though, with less investment, you're totally still winning. And with that said, we can jump into explaining the best teams you should consider building for this mode. The absolute best team for this mode is undoubtedly a Levitine Heat team with Akikuri, Wolfguard, and Ardelia. You see, Umbral Monument has a lot of multi-target situations, and what's worse is all of the Agony mode stages puts you on a way shorter timer than you think. While the real limit says 10 minutes, but if you aren't able to beat the stage quickly enough, say on stage 1, the missed damage will definitely take you out before you even reach half of the time limit. Or in stage 2, if you dilly-dally too much, all the mobs will gain shockingly higher attack, and at some point, if you fail one evasion, you will instantly explode. Levitate is the best solution with insanely high multi-target big range attacks that you can cleave through enemies around you quickly while still having enough firepower to handle the last boss in stage 1 or even the double bosses in stage 3. Levitate also gain easy melting flame stacks when there are multiple enemies involved, making stage 1 and 2 a very good showing for Levitate. W decision for anyone who built her up. Honestly, with this team, it's not just Levitate. Ardelia will also actually be one of the big reasons you'll survive and do well, mainly because of her healing. You see, since tacticals and consumables are not allowed, every hit you take counts so much more now. You'll be heavily punished if you are overzealous and commit your combo without avoiding damage, and you would just explode sometimes. Not to mention, the healing provided by characters' kit in this game is honestly not too much. It's much more minute than a lot of other games. This means having an invested Ardelia with a full set of gold gear, and even consider putting treatment bonus on some of her gear will be very important. On top of that, you have to make sure you know how to trigger Ardelia's healing. Ardelia's skill will drop 3 dollies on the ground, while her ult will drop significantly more. You will only gain healing if you manually pick up the dollies with an operator. That means balancing your SPs and leaving enough SP to get Ardelia's skill, and actually grabbing the heals yourself will be important for you to keep yourself alive. This is especially big in stage 1, where you will be constantly taking damage from just the stage effect. Ardelia's heal offset it slightly, and it could mean the difference between winning or not, making her one of the most important characters to bring into this mode, assuming you don't just have insanely high investments to power through the stages. Now, you can consider Gilberta since she does have healing too, but her healing is much lower, and her synergy with the Heat team isn't exactly the best in stages with single boss enemies, which is in stage 1 and 3. But if it's multi-target, Gilberta's gather is actually big, especially in stage 2, to just gather all the annoying immobile targets and you cleave them all at a point. It's actually very underrated. With that said, let's move on to the next recommended team, which will be the physical Endmin team. It can be a mix of any physical teams like Endmin, Pogranishnik, Chen Qianyu, and Amber, or Ardelia. You can certainly swap off any of them for other physical options based on who you have invested. The thing is with this team is that everyone deals damage and contributes to a solid chunk, so they all do need solid investment, so you can't just put everything into one character while mildly scuffing the others like you kinda could with Levitate. But if you do put in solid investments for all of the operators in this team, the team will do solidly in every stage. And I'd say they will struggle in stage 1 the most, given how the stage's mist effect will deal continuous damage for the whole battle. And if you do use Amber as the only sustain, it may not be the safest option. That is why you may still consider Ardelia, just to get the higher healing in. The only other slight issue with this team is that you may miss your vulnerability infliction on some enemies if they are somewhat scattered like in stage 1 and 2, making your damage not as consistent as could be. But when you fight against single bosses like in stage 3, that should get better since all vulnerabilities will be landed if you do perform your combos on time. This team is one of the best since it's quite accessible first of all, and it gets the job done. They also don't have too many glaring flaws, except for like you have to invest them all well. But if I were to rank it, it still falls below the Levitine Heat team. And if I were to think about some flaws, I would think that physical team may miss some physical statuses on scattered enemies. And of course in stage 2, enemies are less prone to interruption like the physical lifted effect. So it's not exactly the best for the physical team, but hey, the vulnerability effect will still count, so it still works out. It's just less powerful. However, for the fact that they should should be able to beat every stage. They are one of the best investments for you, and not just for this mode, but in general, right? Physical teams are just very versatile for a lot of situations. Moving up next, I will say this. Any other teams will work with enough investments, but the prior two mentioned are the most realistically accessible for the general public with good performance. If you look at some rarer teams like Yvonne that is yet to be rated up yet, her team can actually work quite decently, especially since they have access to Gilberta. You'll see Gilberta's gather is a godsend in this mode, especially in stage 2. While the enemies are immobile, Gilberta can gather them all in one point, and they stay immobile. So you just get to bully them with Yvonne now that they're all in one point. Plus, unlike the Heat team, Gilberta and Yvonne actually has synergy with their reactions, making the Yvonne Gilberta Ice team quite the solid option for this mode. It's not just stage 2, stage 1 has a bunch of mobs, and stage 3, well, you just gotta shoot the boss with Yvonne Zelda Punch. Not to mention, Gilberta also has some healing, and even Zaihi has some healing. All of that will prove to be very valuable for this game mode, but tactical heals are not allowed. The only thing is though, Yvonne is not as accessible yet since she isn't rated up. Plus, having Gilberta does make it ideal for her, and not a lot of people has enough to pull for both, right? If you do pull and invest in them well, you'll have a solid team that can handle all 3 stages, but I'd still rank the Levantine team above for just how simple that team is to use. But this team is definitely capable of handling all 3 Agony stages with good investments. And the above are the best teams in my opinion. There are definitely other teams that has some glaring issues, or some other teams that maybe I didn't cover that does well. Let me know in the comment section down below. But to think about some teams with some issues, it would be something like a Lashlight Ice team, which definitely suffers when the enemies are more scattered. But with Gilberta, that issue may be mitigated. However though, it's definitely still not as ideal as some other options. And as I mentioned, any other team you can think of could work with enough investment. So Lashlight that's cracked out the gills can still win. It's just that it's not too ideal. To think about another team that isn't as ideal will be the Aviwena Electric team. It is my favorite team, but it's not exactly too preferred here unless you have really high investments, since she needs to stand on field for quite some time to set up multiple Thunder Lances. By the time she sets things up perfectly, she may have just taken a big chunk of damage from stage 1's miss damage, or just enemies damage in general. Not exactly perfect for this scenario. With the best teams out the way, it's time for some final tips and tricks for the stages. To start with stage 1, because the miss damage is insanely annoying, you simply have to defeat enemies as fast as possible while providing some healing via Ardelia if you're running her. Don't shy away from using her ult to just heal, or using her skill at the cost of SP to heal. The rest is just making sure your rotations make sense with sufficient outgain efficiency stat on relevant characters. For instance, Levantine's most consistent setup will be to gain her ult every 2 rotations. You want to make sure you're able to do that, and usually that means giving her a Tidefall light armor. I cover her fully in a guide here, do check it out to learn more. The other tip here will be not to shy away from swapping gears if you find a need to. So for Ardelia, I do run 2 treatment bonus kits on her just for the sake of healing enough. There are people who run full outgain efficiency, which might be great for supporting damage, but you may heal less. You can always swap your gear back if you find a need to after beating Agony mode. As for stage 2, the trick here is to kill the mobs as fast as possible. Very straightforward, I know. But there really isn't any other gimmick to this. The longer the fight goes, the higher the mobs attack. The only one tip I could give is if you're running a Levantine team, you want to save your melting flame stacks at the end of her ult duration if you are and can already kill the mobs anyway with basics. They'll allow you to instantly use your enhanced skill coming out of the ult to regain massive energy for the next wave of enemies, so you can get your next ult faster. Remember, you don't gotta overkill, just gotta kill quickly. And yep, there's also the normal advice of try and read their patterns and attacks, especially the final 3 earthworms. They have really annoying long range attacks and really weird movement, but with some practice you will kind of understand. And if you're really confused though, take a step back, monitor it, and then dive back in. Anything is better than just diving in thinking 3 earthworms won't just slam you down and murder you, because they will. Finally, we have stage 3. The general trick here is same as stage 1. Manage your HP and heal as need be, since you will most likely take some damage from the 2 bosses attacking you. The starting phase is just one boss with another one shooting from afar. This comes down to evading at the right time and just damaging them, no biggie. A pretty cool trick I can add here is that with Wolfguard's ultimate, you actually want to save it so that when there is a boss that has a red circle on their body, this is when you are able to parry them with a skill or an ult or even a combo. That is exactly when you should use Wolfguard's ult. It's just a really good quick play ult that you can instantly do and instantly parry any red circle that you see in front of you. Specifically, the second boss will always jump at you and has the red circle for you to parry. The easiest way is to just save Wolfguard's ult for that purpose and you'll always parry it. Now then, the final phase sees both bosses on the field. They do share the same HP pool, which means attacking them both at once is ideal, but my tip here is to actually prioritize survival and do not just jump in between them and start spamming unless you're sure you can finish them in a short time already. Otherwise, you will likely make a mistake, and when 2 boss slams down on you together, you will explode. The safest way here is to honestly take one of them at once, evade when it starts getting messy, finish them both with an ult when you're sure they're near death. I personally am a massive coward, so I just picked one of them to fight at a time when I could, and since they share the HP pool, I could just kill one of them and both of them will take damage and die at the same time. As long as you win, doesn't matter how it looks like. And now that you've beaten every stage, go ahead and claim all your rewards, and yeah, it's really big rewards. I'm really happy to see this. And that'll be all for today's video. I hope I helped you out. Do let me know what teams you used to beat this mode. I'd love to know. Feel free to discuss on what are the best teams as well that I may have missed or any tricks that may help. And I hope you enjoyed. Take care.